On a frigid winter night in Boston, the wind howls through narrow streets, carrying silent snowflakes that blanket the ground in a fragile white veil. Victoria Langston stands alone in her opulent Beacon Hill mansion, her somber gaze fixed on the grand window, where streetlights flicker through the falling snow. The mansion, with its dazzling crystal chandeliers suspended from lofty ceilings, bespoke furniture crafted by master artisans, and priceless art adorning the walls, is the dream of many. But to Victoria, it's a gilded cage where loneliness clings like a shadow, seeping into every corner, every crevice of her heart. Victoria, a tech mogul, is the founder and chairwoman of Langston Innovations, an empire built from nothing. At 58, she's revered as an icon of success, a formidable woman who turned bold ideas into billion-dollar deals. The press lauds her. Young entrepreneurs idolize her. But behind the glamour of lavish galas and inspiring speeches lies a shattered heart, imprisoned by a wordless pain. 30 years ago, her only daughter, Abigail, vanished at a New York amusement park, just 7 years old. That day, memories of Abigail's giggling laughter, her tiny hand clutching a pink cotton candy stick, haunt Victoria like an unending nightmare. In one fleeting moment of distraction, as she turned to pay for a toy, Abigail disappeared, as if swallowed by the bustling crowd. The police scoured the amusement park, from game booths to hidden corners, but found no trace of Abigail, no witnesses, no security footage, no shred of a clue. Victoria, then a young engineer with startup dreams, poured every resource into finding her daughter. She hired the best private investigators, offered millions in rewards, and roamed cities herself, distributing flyers with Abigail's smiling face. But all she received was silence, a void impossible to fill. Years passed, yet the pain never eased, like a wound forever bleeding, deepening each day. Victoria withdrew from the world, throwing herself into work to escape reality. Langston Innovations grew into an empire, but it also became a wall, shielding her from emotions too raw to face. The grand Beacon Hill mansion, though lavish, only amplified her loneliness, each empty room a stark reminder of Abigail's absence. Every night, Abigail appears in Victoria's dreams. The 7-year-old, with curly brown hair and bright eyes, stands there, in her favorite green dress, reaching out her small hand. Victoria tries to grasp it, to touch her daughter, but always wakes before she can, her heart heavy with guilt and despair. "Why didn't I keep you safe?" she whispers into the darkness, her voice trembling, as if pleading for forgiveness from someone no longer there. The room stays silent. Only the winds howl outside and the clock's steady tick, counting the years she's lived without Abigail. Victoria steps away from the window, her arms wrapping around herself, as if to ward off the cold, not just from the weather. She pauses before a photo on the bookshelf. Abigail, beaming in that amusement park, clutching her pink cotton candy stick. The image has faded with time, but the girl's smile remains vivid, a painful reminder of what was lost. Victoria touches the frame lightly, her fingers tracing her daughter's face, as if she could feel her warmth. She knows finding Abigail now is nearly hopeless, but a part of her, the mother who never gave up, still clings to hope, a faint spark in the darkness. Under the chandelier's dim glow, the Beacon Hill mansion bears witness to Victoria's pain. a woman who has everything, yet lost what matters most. In the icy winter night, she stands alone, carrying her loneliness and the memory of a girl who vanished, but lives forever in her heart. And you, my dear viewers, stay tuned for the next chapter of this awe-inspiring story. So, before you get too cozy, take a moment to like the video and subscribe to 30 Millionaire Stories, but only if you truly vibe with what I'm doing here. And drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from and what time it is for you. Always love seeing who's joining us from all corners of the globe. That night, Victoria planned a simple dinner, but exhaustion, not just from work, but from decades of lingering loneliness, left her clutching a packet of instant noodles. A familiar fallback for days, she lacked the strength to face herself. Victoria knew she was trapped in an endless loop of solitude, where evenings passed in silence, with only the howling wind outside and memories of Abigail, her daughter, who vanished 30 years ago. Being alone, though painful, felt safe, a wall shielding her from a world that could wound her again. The phone rang, shattering the mansion's stillness. Victoria frowned, but seeing Emma's name, her college friend, she answered. "Victoria, you can't keep living like this," Emma said, her voice warm yet firm, laced with a rare care Victoria seldom received. "I know a cozy little restaurant. Great food. Come with me tonight. Just one meal." Victoria hesitated, ready to decline as always, but Emma's earnest pleading softened her. After a gentle back and forth, she agreed, though unease lingered about leaving her safe haven. Hours later, Emma led Victoria to a quiet alley in Back Bay, where historic red brick townhouses stood silently under streetlights. The restaurant, Fireside, emerged, unassuming yet inviting, its warm golden light spilling from windows like a beckoning embrace. A rustic wooden sign hung above the door, and the scent of freshly baked biscuits, mingled with herbs and soft acoustic music, wafted out. Victoria stepped inside, feeling as if she'd left the world of lavish restaurants she frequented. Fireside's walls were adorned with photos and handwritten notes from patrons, each table accented with a small vase of vibrant carnations. The space radiated authenticity, a warmth she hadn't expected, making her feel both out of place and oddly comforted. They settle at a table near the window, where the flicker of small candles dances on the linen tablecloth. Emma, with a radiant smile, begins sharing about Fireside, how she stumbled upon it and became a regular. "You'll love the food here," she says, her voice brimming with enthusiasm, flipping through the simple paper menu. Victoria nods, but her eyes roam the restaurant, taking in the lively yet understated atmosphere. Diners chat animatedly, laughter rises from a group of friends in the corner, yet it all carries an intimacy, as if everyone here is a longtime friend. She senses a vibrancy her opulent Beacon Hill mansion, for all its grandeur, never holds. Then Victoria's gaze lands on a waitress moving gracefully between tables, carrying trays with effortless skill. The young woman, vibrant, with brown hair tied high and a beaming smile, chats with diners like old friends, her energy easing those around her. The name tag on her apron reads, Clara. Clara smiles at an elderly couple, trading light-hearted quips that draw their laughter, then glides to another table, her eyes sparkling with sincerity. Victoria can't look away, an inexplicable familiarity stirring within her. Something about Clara, her smile, her gait, or the light in her eyes, evokes a hazy memory. like a forgotten puzzle piece from the past. Victoria grips her water glass tightly, trying to dismiss the feeling, but it clings, whispering that this girl, somehow, is tied to Abigail, her daughter lost 30 years ago. Fireside glows with golden light and soft acoustic melodies. Emma keeps talking, unaware of her friend's inner turmoil. Victoria nods in response, but her eyes follow Clara, her heart beating faster, torn between hope and fear. She reminds herself this isn't the first time. She's seen Abigail in strangers' faces before, only to face disappointment. But Clara, with her vibrant energy and radiant smile, makes it impossible to shake the sense that fate, after years of silence, might be offering an answer. In Fireside's warm embrace, Victoria sits, caught between past and present, unaware that this evening marks the start of a journey confronting mysteries that have haunted her for 3 decades. Clara brings glasses of water and menus to the table of Victoria, Langston, and Emma. She exchanges a few friendly words with Emma, a radiant smile on her lips, her voice soft yet vibrant. "I recommend the honey-glazed ribs tonight," Clara says, her eyes twinkling as she sets the menus down. Emma smiles back, clearly familiar with Clara's warmth from past visits. Victoria, seated across, watches the young woman, captivated by her rare sincerity. Clara doesn't just serve, she connects with diners, making each feel valued, as if they're the center of the world in that fleeting moment. She chats with a family at the next table, asking about their trip, then turns to greet an elderly man with gentle respect. Victoria, weighed by decades of loneliness, can't help but notice the lively energy Clara brings. But then, as Clara leans to pour more water, the candlelight on the table catches the silver necklace around her neck, and Victoria's heart seems to stop. The necklace, a small pendant with intricate design, is unmistakable. 30 years ago, Victoria gave it to Abigail, her daughter, as a 7th birthday gift. The pendant's back bears Abigail etched in delicate script, custom-made by a New York jeweler at Victoria's request. Her breath catches, as if the air in Fireside has thickened. She stares at the necklace, her mind reeling with chaotic thoughts. It can't be, she thinks, trying to convince herself it's mere coincidence. But that pendant was unique, crafted only for Abigail, and memories of the day she placed it around her daughter's neck, paired with the girl's beaming smile, flood back like a torrent. Victoria's hand trembles as she sips her water, striving to stay composed before Emma, who's eagerly recounting a work anecdote. Just a coincidence, she repeats to herself, a mantra to quell the flickering hope within. But doubt clings stubbornly, refusing to fade. Each time Clara passes, Victoria's gaze is drawn to the necklace, glinting in the soft candlelight, a reminder of what she's lost. She grips her glass tightly, nails digging into her palm, trying to suppress the swelling tide of emotion. Abigail? Could she still be alive? The thought, though laced with hope, terrifies her. 30 years have passed since Abigail vanished at that New York amusement park, and Victoria has learned to live with pain by burying hope, for each shattered dream took a piece of her heart. The food arrives, a fragrant plate of honey-glazed ribs and mashed potatoes, but Victoria barely touches it. Emma chats animatedly, sharing stories of past fireside visits and how Clara makes everyone feel special. But Victoria isn't truly listening, her mind consumed by Clara and the necklace. She shakes her head, trying to dismiss the notion that this girl could be Abigail. She's been wrong before, seeing her daughter in strangers' faces, only to face crushing disappointment. But this necklace can't be chance. It's too unique, too personal. Victoria turns to Emma, her voice quivering, barely controlled. "The waitress. Clara," she says, struggling to sound calm. "What do you know about her?" Emma shrugs, her eyes slightly surprised by the abrupt question. "She's wonderful," Emma replies, her tone gentle. "Everyone here loves her, works hard, always smiling, even though she must have tough days." Victoria nods, but Emma's answer doesn't quell the burning questions in her heart. She needs to know more about Clara, the necklace, this girl's past. Yet a deep fear holds her back. If she's wrong, if this is mere coincidence, the pain will engulf her again, as it has so many times. But if she's right, if Clara is Abigail, she doesn't know how she'll face that truth. The 30 years apart, the unanswered questions. In Fireside's warm glow, with acoustic music and the scent of fresh biscuits, Victoria sits, her heart torn between hope and dread, her eyes never straying from Clara, who may hold the key to the mystery haunting her for 3 decades. The meal at Fireside in Boston's Back Bay ends, but Victoria Langston can't leave. The silver necklace around Clara's neck, the vibrant young waitress, haunts her like a call from the past, pulling her back to the agonizing years since her daughter, Abigail, vanished 30 years ago. The warm golden glow of table candles and soft acoustic music can't quell the emotional storm surging within her. Victoria watches Clara move between tables, her radiant smile and sincerity illuminating the room. But to her, Clara is a mystery, a fragile thread of hope that might lead to Abigail or another crushing disappointment. "Emma, wait a moment," Victoria says, her voice hoarse, rising from the table. Emma, her close friend, mid-story, looks surprised but doesn't stop her. Victoria's heart pounds, each step toward Clara carrying 30 years of pain, guilt, and extinguished hopes. Clara is clearing a nearby table, wiping the linen cloth with swift, graceful motions. She looks up as Victoria approaches, a friendly smile blooming, her warm brown eyes free of suspicion. "Hello, ma'am. Can I help you?" she asks, her tone gentle, as if ready to chat with anyone who enters Fireside. Victoria draws a deep breath, struggling to steady her trembling voice. "I'm sorry, but where did you get that necklace?" she asks, her eyes locked on the glinting silver pendant around Clara's neck. Clara touches the pendant, her fingers brushing its surface, a flicker of surprise in her eyes at the sudden question. "It's very special to me," she replies, her voice soft, tinged with pride. "I've had it since I was little. My mother left it for me." Victoria stiffens, as if the floor beneath her has collapsed. "Your mother?" she asks, her voice catching, barely audible. Clara nods, a trace of sadness in her eyes, as if the memory is a dim corner of her mind. "I don't remember her," she says, her voice quieter. "I grew up in an orphanage." The words orphanage echo in Victoria's mind like a bell, sharp and inescapable. She clutches the edge of the nearby table, steadying herself as the world around her tilts. The necklace engraved with Abigail, a gift she had custom-made for her daughter, and now this talk of an orphanage. Victoria's breaths shorten, as if Fireside's air isn't enough to fill her lungs.
"May I see it?"
she asks, her voice nearly a whisper, her eyes locked on Clara, pleading for a sign, any sign. Clara hesitates for a moment, her gaze scanning Victoria's face, as if weighing the request. But the raw sincerity and pain in Victoria's eyes prompt a nod. She lifts the pendant from her neck, holding it gently in her palm, and hands it to Victoria. As candlelight catches it, Victoria sees the word Abigail etched on the back, as clear as the day she commissioned it 30 years ago. Tears well up, but Victoria holds them back, her trembling fingers brushing the pendant, feeling the delicate script beneath her fingertips. She looks up at Clara, her eyes brimming with hope and fear.
"When did you go to the orphanage?"
she asks, her voice quaking, as if the answer could reshape her life. Clara pauses, her eyes drifting to the ceiling, as if sifting through memories.
"Around 5,
she replies, her voice even. Victoria's heart pounds, the rhythm deafening in her ears. Abigail vanished at 5. She swallows hard, striving to keep her voice from breaking. "When's your birthday?" she presses, her gaze unwavering on Clara.
"June 12th, 1995,
Clara answers, her tone soft, unaware of the weight her words carry. Victoria's world crumbles. June 12th, Abigail's birthday. She covers her mouth, tears streaming down her cheeks. Unstoppable. Clara, concerned, steps closer, her eyes full of care.
"Are you okay?"
she asks, her voice gentle, as if ready to steady Victoria if she falls. Victoria wipes her eyes, trying to regain composure, but her voice cracks as she speaks.
"This necklace, it's very special."
She grips the pendant tightly, as if fearing it might vanish, as Abigail once did. In Fireside's warm glow, with acoustic music and the scent of fresh biscuits, Victoria stands before Clara, her heart torn between joy and dread. This girl, with her radiant smile and Abigail's necklace, might be her daughter, or a cruel coincidence, poised to shatter her heart once more. After learning Clara grew up in an orphanage and shares Abigail's birthday, Victoria can't wait to uncover the truth. She draws a deep breath, her heart pounding as if it might burst, her eyes brimming with hope and fear.
"Clara,"
she says, her voice trembling,
"would you agree to a DNA test with me?"
Clara frowns, puzzled by the sudden request, her eyes scanning Victoria's face, as if seeking an explanation. But the weight in Victoria's voice, the sincerity in her gaze, prompts Clara to nod slowly.
"Okay,"
she replies, her voice soft but firm. "I've always wanted to know about my past." Days later, Victoria and Clara sit in a sterile Boston clinic, the air heavy with anticipation. Victoria crumples a tissue in her hand, her heart racing, each beat an unspoken question. If the test is negative, she knows another disappointment, another loss of Abigail, will be unbearable. But if it's positive, if Clara is truly her daughter, she's unsure how to face 30 years of separation, the unanswered questions about that day at the amusement park. Clara sits beside her, her eyes quietly roaming the room, hands clasped tightly in her lap, as if carrying her own silent burden. Neither speaks. Only the wall clock's steady tick marks the countdown to a fateful moment. The doctor enters, holding a white envelope, his face neutral, betraying no hint of the outcome. He sits, opens the envelope, skims the paper inside, then looks up, his eyes meeting Victoria's and Clara's. The results show a 99.99% probability, he says, his voice calm. You are mother and daughter. The room spins. Victoria sobs, tears streaming, carrying 30 years of pain and indescribable joy. She looks at Clara, now Abigail, her daughter, lost at a New York amusement park at 7. Clara sits stunned, her brown eyes wide, tears rolling down her cheeks, as if unable to grasp what she's heard. Victoria reaches out, pulling Clara into a tight embrace, her body trembling with emotion.
I'm so sorry. My love,
She chokes out, her voice breaking.
I searched for you everywhere. I never stopped.
Clara, though bewildered, returns the embrace, feeling, for the first time in her life, a sense of belonging to a place, a person, a family she never knew she had. In the days that followed, Clara needed time to absorb this staggering truth. Knowing she had a mother, and not just any mother, but a millionaire at the helm of the Langston Innovations tech empire, was beyond anything she had ever imagined. She had grown up in orphanages and foster homes, where survival was a daily lesson, and the notion of family felt like a luxury she could never afford. Victoria was patient. She never rushed Clara, instead spending hours by her side, recounting memories of Abigail, how the little girl adored cotton candy, how she used to run wild through the backyard, and how she had searched for her daughter ceaselessly for 30 years. With steely resolve shining in her eyes, she promised Clara, I will never leave you again, no matter how long it takes for you to feel ready. One evening, in the grand living room of Beacon Hill Manor, Victoria and Clara sat beneath the glow of a crystal chandelier. Its light created a warm atmosphere, yet one tinged with distance. Victoria looked at Clara, now reclaimed as Abigail, with tenderness in her gaze.
What dreams do you have?
She asked softly, eager to know her daughter not just by her past, but by the hopes that stirred in her heart. Clara hesitated. Her eyes drifted to the window, where snow fell in silent flurries outside.
I want to open a small flower shop,
she said, her voice quiet yet certain. A place where people walk in and feel joy, like they do at Fireside. Victoria smiled, tears gleaming like jewels in her eyes. We will make it happen, she replied, every word filled with love. I'll be here, right beside you, every step of the way. In that cozy room, Victoria held Clara's hand, feeling the warmth of her daughter after 30 years of separation. Beacon Hill Manor, once a gilded cage that imprisoned Victoria's loneliness, had become the place where two wounded hearts began to heal, and where a new journey together would start. Clara, or Abigail, looked at her mother with a glimmer of hope, as if she had finally found somewhere she truly belonged. Beneath the crystal light, mother and daughter sat side by side, carrying the scars of their pasts, yet brimming with determination to build a future together. Over the months that followed the emotional reunion at Fireside, Victoria Langston and Clara, now reclaimed as Abigail, her daughter, set out together to pursue a new dream. With Langston Innovations' vast resources behind them, Victoria funded Clara's vision, a small flower shop that would bring joy and warmth to everyone who entered. Clara, her heart brimming with passion, poured herself into every detail. From selecting the freshest blooms to designing the shop's interior so it radiated sincerity, just as she had learned at Fireside. On opening day, Abigail's bloom burst into life with roses, carnations, and daisies, each arrangement a symbol of reborn hope after 30 years apart. Clara stood outside the shop, Her eyes glittered as she gazed up at the carved wooden sign bearing her name, Abigail's Bloom, a name that honored her past identity and served as a bridge to her present. Beside her, Victoria gently wrapped an arm around her daughter's shoulders. Pride shone in her expression.
This is your dream,
she said warmly. Clara smiled, squeezing her mother's hand. Her voice was soft but unwavering. No, Mom. It's ours. The flower shop quickly became a beloved destination in Boston, not only for its artfully arranged bouquets and heady fragrance, but for the story behind it. The tale of a mother and daughter reunited after 3 decades of separation by tragedy. Customers came not merely to buy flowers, but to hear how Victoria and Clara found each other, thanks to a silver locket and a DNA test. These stories, told in Clara's bright smile as she wrapped blooms, or in Victoria's tender gaze from behind the counter, spread throughout the community, transforming Abigail's Bloom into a beacon of hope and love. Mother and daughter worked side by side, laughing as they selected flowers, playfully debating display ideas, and making up for lost years with simple, cherished moments. They learned each other's quirks, from Clara's preference for white ribbon on every bouquet to Victoria's habit of brewing coffee just a tad too strong. Each day at the flower shop was more than work. It was the rebuilding of a mother-daughter bond, one step at a time. One night, after closing the flower shop, Victoria and Clara stood outside under Boston's glittering stars, the cool air wrapped around them, carrying the lingering scent of blooms from inside. Clara looked up, her eyes sweeping over the constellations. Her voice came out in a hesitant whisper.
Mom, will we be happy?
That simple question held all the loneliness of her years in orphanages, all the nights she wondered if she'd ever belong to a family. Victoria turned to her, her gaze gentle yet unwavering. She pulled Clara into a tight embrace, feeling her daughter's warmth, and smiled, tears glistening like diamonds in her eyes.
Yes, my love,
she answered firmly. Happiness isn't what we've lost, but what we build together. Clara leaned into her mother, a sense of safety and belonging filling her heart for the very first time. Beneath the night sky, mother and daughter stood ready to write a future together. The past, with its pain and loss, no longer bound them. The day Abigail vanished at that New York amusement park, the years Victoria spent in lonely halls of Beacon Hill Manor, all remained chapters of a story now closed. Before them lay hope, love, and a new beginning, built from blossoms, smiles, and moments shared at Abigail's Bloom. The flower shop was not only Clara's dream, it stood as proof that family love can triumph over time and tragedy, reuniting hearts that once seemed lost. And what about you? Which dream are you suppressing out of fear? Don't wait for someone else to challenge you. Step onto your own stage today. If this reunion story touched your heart, hit like. Subscribe to 30 Millionaire Stories and share the moment you rediscovered something precious. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.